Bohemian Rhapsody was written by Queen's lead vocalist, Freddie Mercury. It's a strange yet wondrous song that is mysterious in its meaning. When Freddie was asked to explain the meaning, he simply responded that it was about relationships with a bunch of nonsense in the middle of it. He also shared that it was originally being created as 3 separate songs, but he couldn't really find a way to move forward with any of them, and he decided to put them all together. And if you listen, you can sort of hear where one ends and another one begins. Yet they are all tied together marvelously. In fact, it's really his masterpiece, though he wrote a lot of other good music. In trying to draw meaning from this music, I felt I needed to have a better understanding, actually, of the man, Freddie Mercury. So, I read what I could about Freddie Mercury. I watched documentaries, and I watched the movie entitled Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes. I know a whole lot now. And I thought I should begin by sharing a short summary of the life of this poet, musician, flamboyant performer, the great pretender, Freddie Mercury. Freddie was born in 1946, so a little older than me. He was born in Zanzibar, off the coast of, which was called then, off the coast of Africa, to Parsi Indian parents. They had fled actually from India, where they had been persecuted. The Parsis that were Zoroastrians were being persecuted, and they were continuously moving from Persia, then to India, and then other places. Freddie's birth name was Farouk Bulsara. He attended English boarding schools. His dad sent him back there to boarding school to India from the age of 8. It was here that his friends started calling him Freddie. That's where he was at the boarding school, and he just kind of adopted that name. He became Freddie. At the age of 12, he formed a rock and roll band there. So from very early on, and they played English rock and roll music, covers. He returned to Zanzibar for secondary school, and then in 1964, his family fled the Zanzibar Revolution, moving to Middlesex, England. So had a life in which they were very transient. Freddie studied art in college, and actually the graphic that you see on most of the Queen things, it was his design. It was used by sort of like a coat of arms, using their different signs from the different members, the band members. So he was an artist, but also his love for music continued. And he continued to sing, always. He had a lot of different jobs in his youth, including being in several different bands. And then he presented himself as an alternate for the lead singer in a band called The Smile, because the original lead singer left. He said he just didn't think they were going to go anywhere. So he left. Freddie Mercury convinced them to let him sing as the lead singer, and they changed their name to Queen at Freddie's suggestion. He wanted to be, said, let's be royalty. We'll change our name to Queen. He later changed his legal name. He changed it to Freddie Mercury. Now, whether Mercury was for the element that goes up and down in the thermometer, or for our smallest planet, or the god, I'll let you decide. And the rest is musical history that many of us know and love. Freddie fell in love with a woman named Mary Alston, but she knew before he did that he was not a straight man. They remained close, though, all his life. He had many lovers before settling down with Jim Hutton about 1985. He referred to Jim as his husband, and they wore wedding bands. On November 24th, 1991, Freddie died of pneumonia resulting from AIDS at the age of 45. Now, when you listen to Bohemian Rhapsody, you feel the message. You feel it. You may not be able to articulate it, but if you're like me, you feel the connection. Many, including his lover Jim Hutton, believed it was a message of his attempt of his wanting to come out before he could feel like he could really come out. Listen again to this part of the lyrics. Mama just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life has just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama, ooh, didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, carry on, as if nothing really matters. Many say that the man he was killing was his old self, not his authentic self. And he's crying out for and with his mama, because his mama would surely be disappointed. You see, Freddie's family was a very traditional Zoroastrian family. Very traditional. And the life he wished to live authentically did not match their hopes and dreams for him. I do not know if that is the message that Mercury wanted to share in this song, but it's a message I deeply identify with. And I know some of you do as well. Like Freddie Mercury, I love my mama. I love my mama. But I cannot be the person that she would have wanted me to be. I think I embarrass her. I've lost her trust, and maybe I'm not sure her love. But like many of you, I have to be me. Much of this song is a struggle between staying and pleasing some folks, stay and go. He wants to go, but he feels to stay. Let it go, no, stay, go. Many of us can identify with that emotion. The second part of the song is the part that he said was a bunch of nonsense in the middle. But I think he carefully chose the words. I can look at it and see, you chose those words carefully, I believe. Why has he chosen to lift up the words Scaramouche, Galileo, and Bismillah? Scaramouche is a term used in Italian opera, and Freddie Mercury was a lover of opera. Now, he loved opera. The character, the Scaramouche character, was really a cowardly buffoon. Is that how Mercury saw himself, for not being able to be honest and truthful? Of course, Galileo tried to tell the truth using science and a refracting telescope to determine what the universe was really like. But the truth he had advocated for did not match the teachings of the Catholic Church. So he was imprisoned by the Roman Inquisition for life. What would be the results of Mercury sharing his truth? And finally, he repeated the phrase, Bismillah, which is Arabic for in the name of God. In the name of God. Is this song also a psalm or a prayer? The third act of the operetta or song seems to come back to a refrain that was offered earlier in the song. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the wind blows. Sadly, this is often how our own struggles conclude. with us realizing we are not in control and we must just follow the wind. I know that many of us have felt this way in recent years with the pandemic and with the storms we've suffered through, both the real hurricanes that have come through and personal life storms. It can be a useful coping mechanism, it doesn't matter. I'm remembering old Bill Murray comedy called Meatballs. Do you remember Meatballs? Have you seen Meatballs? Okay. His boys' camp team consistently lost to another camp whose mascot was the Mohawk. Now, the Mohawk team members have wonderful uniforms and lots of money and talent, okay? And Bill's campers are about to play again, and of course, they're discouraged. It's up to him as counselor and coach to give them some motivation, or at least make them feel better. So here's the speech he shares with the team, knowing that there's no way. Okay, here's his speech. Sure, Mohawk has beaten us 12 years in a row. Sure, they are terrific athletes. They got the best equipment that money can buy. Hell, every team member they're sending over here has their own personal masseuse. Not masseur, masseuse. But it doesn't matter. Do you know that every Mohawk competitor has an electrocardiogram, blood and urine test every 48 hours to see if there's any change in his physical condition? Do you know that they have the most sophisticated training methods from the Soviet Union, East and West Germany, and the newest Olympic power, Trinidad and Tobago? But it doesn't matter. It just 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 doesn't matter. And the team, that's you folks now, join in and say, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. All right. During my 40s, I would recall that movie and that refrain when my life felt like it was out of control, which was often. I had teenage sons and a husband who was continuously cheating on me and lying about it, with hypocritically shaming our sons for them not being perfect and constantly arguing with me about that I should agree with him because we were married about things like interracial and same-sex relationships. Sorry, Freddie, but I'm trying to make a point here. And because I was committed to the marriage, and because I loved him, I felt that there was nothing I could do. So I used Bill Murray's method, and I would dance around the kitchen late at night while he was out with his lover saying, it just doesn't matter, it just doesn't matter, it just doesn't matter. But, beloveds, it did matter. It did matter. I do so regret that I did not end my marriage 10 years earlier. It would have made a difference in my life and that of my sons. And I'm sorry that I was blind to the power that I did have to make a difference in all of our lives. In fact, Fred X would have been better off as well. We can't change the past though, can we? No. What we can do, though, is to realize that though there is much in life that we do have no control over, we can make a difference. Quantum physics reveals that everything we do does make a difference. It does matter. It does matter very much. Freddie Mercury finally began to take some control of his life in the mid-'80s when he left his frenzied life in Munich and came back to England, rejoining Queen and performing with excellence at Live Aid in Wembley Stadium. I encourage you to go look that up on YouTube and see that performance of theirs at Live Aid in Wembley Stadium. They stole the show. In the next few years, he did live more lovingly and authentically. Perhaps because Freddie knew that time was running out. Now, Freddie had a fatal diagnosis that made that very evident to him. But folks, time is running out for all of us. And we need to not only live authentically, but try to make a positive difference in this world while we're at it. Those of us living in Georgia have a special responsibility to do that right now. Our vote matters. Every one of them. And getting others to, perhaps we don't usually vote, out and voting matters as well. I don't have to tell this congregation how important this election is. And this congregation matters. This congregation matters. So this stewardship campaign, this pledge campaign, is an especially important one. Do we want to be here for folks in the future in this community who need us? Do we want to continue to have some kind of professional ministry even when I'm no longer here? Not only for this congregation, but for this community? For that to happen, we must be more supportive. Yes, your vote matters. Your support for this congregation matters. You matter. Every one of you matter. The wind does blow. But we don't have to go anywhere the wind blows, as the song says. We need to lift our sails and set our rudders to navigate toward a better world for all of us. As Michelle Obama said, let's do something. May it be so.